Hello, everyone. Hello. So, tonight we are going to talk about COVID. We are going to talk about what's going on in Afghanistan or what's not going on in Afghanistan. We are going to talk about 46. We are going to talk a little bit about all of it. Chris, when you're ready, give me the thumbs up. All right, let's welcome Chris. Sorry, I would have kept Chris. I wanted Chris to actually start this live and Evie down and him pull me up, but he had a phone call right before, so it just didn't work out that way. But hello, everyone. Hi, Chris. Say hello to everyone.
Hello, everybody. All right.
Hi, Jessica. Hi, Janine. Hi, Carol. Hi, Janet. Hi, Tammy. Hi, Donald. Hi, May. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Melissa. Leslie. Lori. So, tonight we are going to talk a little bit about everything. First and foremost, before we even get into all of this, I definitely want to wish Ella French a happy birthday. Today would have been her 30th birthday. So, everybody, please wish her a happy birthday. Say a little prayer for her mother. Ella, we will never forget. Period. Rest in paradise. All right. So, I didn't want to forget because sometimes we get too involved in the conversations and then I'll forget little things because I have a chicken nugget brain. So I made sure I did not want to forget. Hey, Chelly, have a good show. I'll have to catch up with you soon. Hello, Suni. Girl, long time no talk. Hi, Chris. Hi, Barbara. Hi, Diana. Hi, Autumn. All right, Chris, what would you like to talk about first?
Hey, so I got a little video because I know we're going to get, some of the topics we're going to talk about is serious. But right before we jumped on, I was trying to get my audio working. And so I went to YouTube. And there's a video I just seen, and I wanted to share it with everybody. It kind of made me laugh. I'll bring it up. Let me see. I got to bring it down here. And then we'll get rolling. Let's see. Yep. So I just thought this was kind of funny.
SAFETY. Safety dance. We can fly where you want to. We can leave your house behind. But if your friends don't mask, and why don't they mask? Well, they won't fly this airline.
You can fly if you want to, cause we do safety right. We have air that's clean and disinfectant machines zapping germs like an arcade space fight. And we dance
Do the dance, do the dance.
Everybody wash some hands.
Do the dance, do the dance. We're always wearing a mask. Do the dance, do the dance.
No, seriously, please wash your hands.
So it cracked me up because it just shows how far we're going, and we know, but how far we're going with all this COVID. And it's like, man, every time you turn around, there's something. Oh, my name is wrong. I just realized that. I'm John Tisha, by the way. I'm John Tisha today.
Today is backwards day.
Mine
should say Ricky.
Yeah. You know what it was? I'll tell you why John Tisha was up. Because backstage before we started the show, I had a wig on and I popped in and I was like, hello, hello, hello.
You guys miss all the backstage laughs. It's a backwards world. It sure the hell is. Well, I just want to say what I'm going to put it in the words of Number 45. All woke things turn to shit. And if that video didn't prove it, I don't know what will. Yes, I said it. I'm not even mad. Period. So if you see the screen behind us, it is the fallen soldiers that died in Kabul. I think it's, I don't know I hear people saying Kabul. You know what I meant. If I said it wrong, it's not on purpose. It just is what it is. Hi, Diana. Love you, Chelly. Miss you. Thank you. I love you guys too. Yes, Rose. Thank you. Share, share, share. Please, if you share this video, please make it public in your settings. It doesn't have to be your entire page, just this particular video. This way it reaches a lot more people. Chris and I and John Tisha would greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you're not following us on YouTube, please follow us on our YouTube page. We would greatly appreciate that. Barbara, I see that you're on YouTube. If you can share the YouTube link in the comments, I would greatly appreciate it. If not, I will pull it up and I will do it. Anyways, is there a starting point for you, Chris? Where do you want to start?
Trying to get Facebook up so I can pull up some of these links.
Hey, close the door, Elijah.
So we'll start with this. Were you able to watch President Biden's speech today?
No. I did discuss it with Austin. I did speak to Austin today. I did discuss it with him, and he kind of just filled me in on things that he heard. But I have not watched it for myself. My son just started college yesterday, and he's not on campus, like he's not dorming, because they weren't sure if they were going to open the campus. So I would have been obligated to pay the fee, even if they were being homeschooled, which I thought was ridiculous to spend between 17 and 20,000 if my son was going to sit in his bedroom. So he still hasn't got his U pass, which is like a college bus pass where he can go back and forth. So mommy is driving him back and forth. So it's been hectic. My daughter's starting school, so I did not get to watch it. But do you want to talk about it? You are muted.
Oh, no, I know. So, no, I was going to pull it up. I wanted to play maybe like the first minute. And then if you want to go to YouTube, you could, because it's fresh today, just put in Biden. It should be one of the first things that pops up. I want to say it's about 30 minutes. But I want to play like the first minute just so you could kind of hear where he's going with it. And then we'll just jump to the end. Let me see. All right.
But that shouldn't be swollen. You know it's swollen? Around his cut? Is it supposed to be?
Last night in Kabul, the United States ended 20 years of war in Afghanistan, the longest war in American history.
Is the sound on?
One of the biggest airlifts in history, with more than 120,000 people evacuated to safety. That number is more than double what most experts thought were possible. No nation has ever done anything like it in all of history. Only the United States had the capacity and the will and ability to do it, and we did it today. The extraordinary success of this mission was due to the incredible skill, bravery, and selfless courage of the United States military and our diplomats and intelligence professionals. For weeks, they risked their lives to get American citizens, Afghans who helped us, citizens of our allies and partners and others on board planes and out of the country. And they did it facing a crush of enormous crowds seeking to leave the country. And they did it knowing ISIS-K terrorists, sworn enemies of the Taliban, were lurking in the midst of those crowds. And still, the women and men of the United States military, our diplomatic corps, and intelligence professionals did their job and did it well, risking their lives, not for professional gains, but to serve others, not in a mission of war.
So I'm going to stop it right there. Like I said, you could go and listen, but to the whole thing, I find myself very conflicted when he's talking, right? And at the end of the day, there are things that the president is saying that I agree with, because I don't disagree with everything. Then there's those things where he says things like extraordinary success, and I'm like, but was it really? I'm personally glad that we're out of Afghanistan. I think we were there way too long, regardless of why we went in the first place or what we were doing there after. We're out. But as he went through the speech, I found myself going, okay, yes, I agree with that. Yes, our men and women that serve, they're brave, for being out there. But there's those little things, like just to start it off with, like, it was an extraordinary success. I think a majority of the nation, Republican, Democrat, whatever party you are, I think a majority of us agree that this wasn't that successful. I mean, there's a lot of people that have lost their lives in a short amount of time, and a lot of people that feel like this could have been done better. I think that's where he loses me when I'm listening. You have any, just from what you heard, what do you think, Charlie? You're muted.
Sorry, I do it so that like the video doesn't echo. But so I think for me to say that it was a success and then follow that with a but, or well, not that he said the word but to me that's what I hear, right? Like, I'm listening to the president of the United States, and to start with something saying that it was a success is disgusting to me, to be honest. I think that everything that he said, I don't think everything he has said is wrong, because yes, we have been there for way too long. I agree. But I think that there's a way to do things, and the way he did this was disgusting. I think that the blood of all the casualties, including our military personnel, is on his hands, and anyone who had, what's his name, Blinken, I think all of them should be fired. That's my personal opinion. I think that not enough people are talking about it. And I don't mean in the sense like we all know what happened pretty much in Afghanistan. We know that we lost people, but we're not talking about why. We're not getting into the depth of why this happens. We're not talking about all the people that are still left there, all the allies' names that were turned over. Like, we're just going to walk away from that. How can any other nation trust us when we literally turned our backs? That's kind of how I feel.
So I was listening earlier to a couple podcasts, and I do that every day. Like, as long as I'm not out actually having to physically be do stuff, or I'll just put it like this: when I'm doing desk work, I'll sit there, listen to my podcast, and it gives me different perspective. And what I heard today was, like, I understand we have people left. I do believe that the signals that were given to evacuate were mixed signals. And because, there was no sense of urgency, like we heard the president say that he didn't think that, what was this, a month or so ago, that he didn't think that things were going to happen like this, and that they wouldn't see it happening like this, and that it's just not possible. I know I'm kind of paraphrasing what he says, but then that kind of gives mixed signals, right? But today on one of the podcasts I was listening to, there's a family that was family of 4 that's still there, that hasn't left. And if you just listen to the news, you would think like, oh man, we left a family of 4. And you think mom, dad, and 2 kids. And that, we're not doing nothing. And then, or they chose to stay, is what the news, like, hey, these people chose to stay there. And you would think why? And the person that I was listening to brought up a very good point. Because they have family there. And because they were probably originally from Afghanistan, became United States citizens, whether they came here or not. They were from Texas, so at some point they moved here and went back, and so they didn't want to leave. So when I heard that, I'm like, you know what? That's kind of a good point. And this is where the media does a bad job at reporting. If you're going to come out and say, hey, we still have people there. Yes, we didn't do a good job, maybe getting the word out or make it known that this need to be immediate. But there are some people that have chosen to stay for many different reasons. And some of those they are native to Afghanistan. And they don't want to leave now because they're with their families and they want to stay and try to help out or whatever. I think that right there, as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, if we got a couple hundred people left, you never know why. And maybe that's why some of them stay. If we got the majority out, great. I know we want to, some of us want to beat up, the current president, but if people chose to stay, we have to accept that. There are some people that didn't. And then that's, we got to keep doing what we're doing. And that's going back there and trying to get the remaining people out. I just hate the fact that we always get like a fraction of the story and there's always so much more. And if I could leave, I'll end with this on this little segment. I think when we're hearing the news, no matter what it is, whether we're for the president or not, we always got to stay open-minded and know that we're only getting partial story. There's so much more that happens behind the scenes. And it's hard. I mean, I know I react like I seen, 13 soldiers or 13 service members, dead. And it was an emotional thing for me. I latched onto it. And then for as fast as we do, sometimes we got to bring ourselves back and say, okay, now what else is going on that we don't know?
I think for me, I think that my mind is always open to what we don't know, right? Because there's always three sides: yours, theirs, and the truth falls somewhere in between, right? The things that bothered me the most about this is when I've heard people said like, oh, they made the ultimate sacrifice. They died saving other people's lives. They did. And I'm thinking, and maybe I'm in my feelings a little bit. I mean, maybe I am. I have a 17-year-old son. He will be 18 in 2 days. And I think that whether it was my son or my daughter, and they lost their life because things were not done the way they should have been done, especially for a military force like the United States military. For me, I just can't. I think maybe my mama bear kicks in, and I think I wouldn't accept that. Now, if my child is there and they're literally like they're on a rescue mission and they're pulling people in planes, and God forbid something happens, and yes, I know that they sign up for certain things when they go. But trust me, as the police officer in me as well, when people say, oh, well, if you get shot, because some asshole just decided to come blow your brains out. First of all, I want to make it very clear that's not what I signed up for. I signed up willing to lose my life, saving the life of someone else. That's what I signed up for. I did not sign up for an entitled asshole to feel like he could just walk up on me and shoot me because of the uniform that I wear. So I feel that there's probably people in the military who feel the exact same way that I do. If my child went to the military, I would respect their choice. But if my child died because leaders did not do what they were supposed to do to protect life, and we have one of the best militaries in the world, to me, everything else is just void. And like I said, maybe I'm in my feelings. Maybe I am. I look at these kids, and I'm looking at my son, I'm looking at my nieces, I'm looking at my nephews, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'd be pissed. And guess what? Joe Biden is he's in command. He commands our military. He is the big dog. So I think, yeah, I'm gonna take everything out on his ass. Everything and then some. Not only him, but all the military leaders who knew, like you mentioned that his messages were mixed signals. And we saw that, right? We saw, I think in our last live, we played a little piece of that, where his last video, he's talking about that, no, there was no threat. They didn't see a threat. But then you see Wilson on another channel saying, oh, we told these people to get out and they decided not to go. So that, again, it's just like, to me, it's the transparency. When it's not transparent, you give people, you plant that little seed of doubt. And once that, you lose life along with that, to me, they don't get a pass for me. And like I said, maybe I'm in my feelings.
No,
I might be. I'm going to own it. I might be.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's kind of why I wanted to start off, with this and kind of just that first little snippet. But then I also, like, for me, it's that reminder. I know I seen that and I was going to be like, hey, Blake, but he wasn't talking to me. He was talking to you.
You should have put your wig on. You should have put your wig on. Like, hey.
Yeah, but I know. I just want to remind people that, yes, these stories are sad. Yes, they get us motivated, to be more active or to voice our opinions. But just remember, when it's coming from the media, more often than not, these stories are there to tug on your heartstrings to get views. And I don't like when they keep pounding it in, out there that, hey, here was his family, this happened. They told the president to stop talking about his son, and they just keep going and going. This is the other side now. Whereas a year ago, or, not even 8 months ago, it was all Trump, 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 and everything was that emotional grab to get you hooked into why you want to watch them, because you want to see them bash on. Well, not us. Most of us here didn't want to see that, but that's what they were doing. And now they're over here where their ratings have dropped. So how are they going to get you? They're going to keep kicking out this content. All I'm asking is, don't get so wrapped up in the stories. They're sad. Don't forget all the other stuff that's going on. Still pay attention to what these other government officials are saying, whether it's Blinken or the Secretary of Defense. I continue to watch that and listen to what they're saying. Because if you get sidetracked with the stories, you're going to miss a lot. You are. I want to wrap this up just with this last part. Let's see.
This is the right decision, a wise decision, and the best decision for America. Thank you. Thank you, and may God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
And I just want to point out the sound was low on their end. So if you couldn't hear them. To me, the importance of this moment is the fact that if we want to show that we have a president that's really going to stand by us or speak for us, or still has something left to give, he has to start to answering questions. He has to start meeting the press and not having these scripted, teleprompter lines, or not lines, but speeches. Stop fumbling over the words and saying, "Oh, well, they told me not to ask for questions, but give me questions." Like, I watched this earlier. I was like, it's disappointing. It is very disappointing to finish a speech, whether we liked it or not, and then to just turn around and walk out. It's like, man, this is hurting us. And I don't want to lose sight too of, like, hey, we still got to unite as a people. And this is not doing it. Like, when you see things like this, people are just like, he's turning his back again and just walking out without answering questions. And it's a little disheartening.
I agree. And the thing is, what we should do? We should do like a poll. Like, if anybody on here, go back, if you guys watch his videos. I know they're really hard to watch, right? But we have to watch it if we want to stay informed. We can't quote somebody based on what they said. if we don't watch. I usually try to watch him and Circle Back Girl, but like I said, I've been kind of really busy the last few days, so I wasn't able to watch it today. Um, but yeah, you have to stay informed. You have to listen in order to know what's really happening. It's better, I think, always to hear it come out of the horse's mouth. You know what I mean? And I think so. Anyways, about my poll, we should see how many times he's done that since day one, right? January 21st till now. How many times has he not answered questions and just walked the fuck off? That would be that. I think that would be a good one.
Yeah.
How many times has he done it? And then I can do like whoever gets it right, like I can send you like whoever gets it right, I'll send you something.
Hey, that means we're really going to have to dig into it because
we're gonna have, I'm gonna have to look.
Yeah, because I don't. I mean, just off the top of my, like, I could say a handful of times, but I have a feeling like it's more than that.
Yeah.
I honestly don't even know. So that'll be some good.
Yeah, that would be good. That'd be interesting. But so my next thing I wanted to talk about really quick is I sent a video in our group chat. Did you get to watch it, the Tulsi Gabbard one?
I did not. I started watching.
It was quick. It's like a minute or something. But the whole point was, so
you want me to throw it up? I have it ready.
Yeah, can you throw it up? And then I'll ask my question afterwards. So I want you to watch this, and then I'll pose my question to Chris and to everyone in the comments, and then we'll kind of get into that a little bit.
Happy Janmashtami. I'm so happy on this wonderful day of Janmashtami. But honestly, I'm also a bit sad because I'm not able to be home and celebrate with my husband Abraham, my parents and friends on this wonderful birthday of Sri Krishna. But I'm sorry, this is all a bit rough. I'm still on active duty. It's been over 4 months now, and I am making do with what I've got. But I want to send my best wishes and all of my aloha to my brothers and sisters in uniform who embody such great personal courage and sacrifice as they've been supporting the evacuation. We grieve the loss of every single one of our brothers and sisters who've paid the ultimate price over the last 2 decades in Afghanistan, including the 13 servicemen and women in Kabul who just a few days ago sacrificed their own lives to save the lives of others. We honor you. We will never forget.
So I don't know if you remember, or I have talked about Tulsi Gabbard in the past. I said that she is one Democrat that I would find myself standing behind because of the fact that I felt that she was pretty in the middle. I didn't know more about her policies on war before I would say, yeah, I'm going to support her, right? But I did like her as a Democrat. I've talked about her a couple times. I follow her Facebook page. I saw this today, and it made me feel some type of way, to be honest. And again, maybe I'm in my feelings. I don't know. Normally, I don't have feelings. I have a black soul. But I will say that I heard that, right? And she started with, I guess, Jamashtami, and I'm probably saying that wrong right now. I'm not trying to attack anybody, but I believe it's a Jewish holiday. It's like celebrating the birth of somebody in the Jewish community, I believe. She said the name, but I believe it's a Jewish holiday.
I was trying to look it up.
Yeah, I think it's a Jewish holiday.
I'm looking.
And it's like to celebrate a person. It's in regards to somebody's birthday. The guy that she says, I think it's a guy, or man or woman, or she says the name. But anyways, my whole point is, This is where I got in my feelings with this video. I waited to what she had to say, right? I do like her as a person. And when she started out that video talking about the holiday, talking about her family, I guess she's been she's in the military. So for me, once she started talking about like, oh, for the service, for the people that gave, the 13 men and women that gave their life, saving lives of others in Kabul, but at no point did she make any statement about how that happened. And I don't mean you have to go and attack 46, but to me, I'm like, if you are a people person, I don't know, I'm going to call a spade a spade. And I think like she just talked about like how we've been there too long and people supporting the evacuation. And I'm like, I don't know. That kind of left a bad taste in my mouth for her, to be honest. Am I in my feelings? Tell me, Chris. Be honest.
Be honest, Chris.
Be honest.
Be honest. Tell it like it is. I'm like, not mentioning this is my problem with politicians. When politicians play politics all the time and they don't start calling shit for what it is, I'm like, typical. When that red flag strikes me, I'm done. And I can hear John Teach in the background too. She already knows. He knows when my red flag goes up. No.
How's the best way to put this? Because we were talking about being in our feelings last night, and
just
no. So I think
I don't get my feelings hurt, to be
honest. No, I know, but I think when I'm like, don't get caught up, like don't let it emotionally grab you, don't get caught in your feelings. I for me, it's like when you start becoming irrational, and it's I won't say unjustified, but if you're just holding on to something, I have to use an example. So let's just say like what I said right now with all these stories out there, right? So you got all these stories floating around. If it's okay to connect with them and to feel sad and to get motivated or pumped up, but I think when people get in their feelings about stuff is when they let it get a hold of them so much that they kind of become irrational, and they're not thinking about what they're after that. They don't really think about what they're doing or they're saying, and they just let it get to them, and they get really upset and defensive or whatever it is, and it just kind of goes past that. I think if you are watching something, I don't know, for me, like, I don't think you're in your feelings. I think if you got a balance where you're like, I don't really like that, or I'm not really feeling her, or whatever it may be, and but if there's justification to it and you're not overdoing it, I wouldn't say you're caught in your feelings. I would say you're taking a balanced approach. Like, yes, you agree, but then there's some things you don't. So I don't know if that, I'm hoping that makes sense. So I don't think
it. So I don't think like that there's a difference when people are basically what you're saying, like you can tell the difference when someone's really in their feelings. You're like, fuck, they're not even thinking right now. They're just all about feels. When I'm kind of like, hey, I do like, I can admit like, hey, there's some things about what she says that I like, and I like her as a person. I've said it on this platform or other platforms in the past. She's somebody that I would look forward to seeing where they go in the future. But this right here, the fact that, again, I understand politics, but I think that at this point in life, I am sick of the typical politics and people making excuses. Oh, it's just politics. Oh, it's just politics. No, we have to stop that. That is exactly why we are where we are in the world, because we continue to give people a pass because they do so much good, but you can't call them on their one little fucked up thing. And for me, I'm like over it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, we need to start calling spades, period. You can do it in a very educational way. You ain't got to say, hey, 46, I think you're a piece of shit. You know what I mean? But we need to start calling it out. I'm tired of the never-ending circle of politics and people making excuses. Oh, that's just politics. Does that make sense a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, and I like what you like. You got people that are doing a whole bunch of good, and then they do that one really bad thing, and we don't call them out on it. But and we'll go back. It's politics, right? Because on the opposite side, you got people that do a whole bunch of bad stuff, and they do one good thing, like I don't know, sign some checks for stimulus checks, and they're like the savior, right? And we call those Republicans and Democrats because that's kind of how it feels. Yeah. But no, you're right. I think more people need to see that, hey, we could look at these politicians and that we could agree with some stuff and disagree with some stuff. And people got to, and I think what you're doing, that's showing people like, you got to be real and you got to be open. Like, that's like me saying like, yeah, I voted for Trump 2 years in a row. Yes, I supported him in the fact that I voted for him and I liked some of the stuff that he said. I really disliked the 15-day to slow the spread. Like that to me was the worst thing he ever did. And I was really upset with that because I knew where it was going to go. But there's a balance. I didn't get caught up in it like, oh, I hate Trump forever. And he's just, no. And for me, if I could call him out and be like, look what you did to us, man. You should have never agreed to that. I mean, I honestly feel like out of all the dumb shit you ever said, that was the stupidest thing you ever done and said. You know, people need to see that. And that's why I was talking about earlier with Biden, like, for as much as I don't want to agree with them or I want to turn on the news and be like, oh, he's just a piece of, then you start listening to him talk and you're like, well, I don't disagree with the whole speech. Do I think he's wholehearted about it? No, but I didn't disagree with everything. Like, I do agree we don't need to be there. And I think you could take that approach and people need to see that. And to me, I think if you take that approach, you're not getting caught up in your feelings. You're thinking through what is going on. Like, yeah, we're human. We're going to feel. We're going to be a little irritated or upset, but it's not completely changing your outlook or the way you're behaving.
Right. Just like there's things about Trump. People think that, oh, I didn't, well, last year at this time, I probably was leaning more towards Trump, but I did not start realizing that I should be voting based on policy over feelings until maybe the summer of last year. When I started kind of like just reading into shit. We were locked in the house with COVID and all this other stuff. So it gave me a lot of time to read. So once I started doing that, I started seeing these and I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that. And then I had to like check it. And I was like, oh, shit. So there were some things I didn't like about him, right? I think that he needs to stay off Twitter sometimes. I think that, it's kind of like when you're in a domestic, right? You're in a fight with your spouse and things are real heated. You know what? It's better to just like I have to bite my tongue and have to just walk the fuck away because my evil twin comes out and she's vicious. So I'm like, yeah, I don't want to say that. You know what I mean? So I think that Trump, for me, one of his things was I wish he would take that moment to cool off and then go back at it like 6 hours later or the next morning, and put it in a more, I don't want to say presidential way, but there are a million ways to skin a cat. Like I can make someone feel really, really shitty and never use a curse word or never raise my tone. So I think for me, it's kind of the same. Those are things I didn't like about him. And just so that people know, people think like, when we start talking about COVID, because we're going to get into COVID a little bit, right? When people start talking about COVID, people think right away, if you didn't get the vaccine, you're an anti-vaxxer. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. Let me just give my disclaimer. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. Been vaccinated, that was my mom's choice. But I vaccinated all 5 of my children, 5 children, all vaccinated, not with this shot, okay? But I'm not anti-vaxxer. I think that's a misconception. I just think that I'm cautious. You know what I mean? There's been a lot of non-transparent things happening, which make people more hesitant to just be like, yeah, I'm going to go out and get this vaccine, because there's so much shit being hidden. And that's it. I was talking to a friend today who is this, he's awesome. So him and I were having a conversation today, and he said, you know what I would love? I would love for the doctors who are, don't get the vaccine, don't get the vaccine, and the doctors who are, get the vaccine, it's okay, it's healthy, it's good, get it. He said, I'd love for them to be on a panel together and broadcast that shit live. Have a mediator on both sides and let them hash that shit out in front of the public. Maybe people would be less hesitant, because you get to seeing both sides without cutting off one side or the other. You know what I mean? So, and I was like, you know what? I'd be down for that.
I honestly, I agree. I think that needs to happen more often, and not just amongst our politicians can't even do that. I mean, they get up there and like when we're watching some of these events, like the impeachment or whatever, and they're picking sides. Like, but it's not a debate. It's so formal, and you can't say this and don't say that. But you know, you got the Democrats calling them racist, and then you know the Republicans just don't sit there or they sit there and don't say nothing. Like, no, we need to see people get up, health professionals, and I agree with you, and have a talk about it and put that out there for the public to see. And that's on many different topics. I mean, even at the local city, like people need to see, like we'll say, real quick, and then I'll come back to that, to the vaccine. I just want to touch on this. I do think, yes, Amy, I do think they should have stuck to the deadline, or he should have stuck to the deadline. Regardless, he didn't. We're at where we're at. We'll never know if Trump would have made it. You know, if it would have came out this way, I think it would have went better, but we don't know. There was a better chance then because they weren't going to be as active. So, I mean, but we're not there. We're here, and I think the consensus is that the president, you know, he made a horrible call. I mean, and it sucks. So back to the vaccine thing. I think that, like I was saying, we need to have those conversations, but on a local level, like when things are coming up, and I think what I'm tired of seeing is that we make, like, there's things that should be everybody's business, like the nation, but then there's things that need to happen in your city. So vaccines, like, yes, we have one big powwow, but those need to also happen at the local level, like at your city hall, where you bring people together and the public, the health professionals, community members could come together and have these conversations and figure something out. Because regardless of what people want to think, there's leaders in your community. There's people that are going to step up for, you know, that are going to step up and speak before anybody else does. Those people need to come together and they need to hash this out for the community. And I'll say, like, for myself, like, I've went down to the school board here in town, and I've got up there and I've spoke out. And I've had people after the meeting go, hey, you got, you know, thank you. You know, I was always wanting to get up there and do that. And, you know, but I've been scared, like, hey, I'll be your voice. I have no problem being the voice. I don't want to be a politician because I'm not going to sit up there and be prim and proper. I mean, if I got something to say, I'm going to say it. And if that means I'm going to drop an F-bomb, I'm doing it. So, but be that voice. And then, but let's have a conversation about it. Because more often than not, people are like, I got up there, I said something, and then you look to them like, okay, so what are you guys going to say back? Because I want to talk about this. They just write their notes down. Next, we lost the communication in the discussion, and we're not getting anywhere. And I think that's a really good idea. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see two. I'd like to see them take the opposite sides, like a high school debate. I remember that because I never watched any other one, but in high school I remember they used to have those debate competitions, and you see people pick a side and roll with it. I want to see that. And then let's find middle ground after it's done.
Yeah, I agree 100%. As far as COVID, right? So I've been following a lot of stuff that is happening in um, other nations, right? Like I've been following some doctors from Israel. I've been following doctors from Europe, and I've been trying to read as much as I can in regards to Delta variant, right? Because that is the big topic. That's what everyone's talking about. That's like the big thing, right? Um, sorry, I was reading the comment. So I've been like reading a lot of stuff and I've been following it, right? So again, my issue with this variant being more dangerous than last year and numbers being so much higher than last year. Again, how can anyone with a good conscience say that when we all know the numbers were not real last year? Someone had a heart attack, COVID. Someone died of cancer, COVID. Someone died of A, B, C, and D, COVID, 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 because we all know that they got more money for a COVID death as opposed to a cancer death. So, how can anyone with a good conscience say that the numbers now are so much higher, right? I was reading an article and it was talking about the vaccines, especially Pfizer and Moderna, that were originally made for the original COVID variants. And that the reason it is being sort of the super spreader, the word they love to use, super spreader, is because there's something with the D variant that is making it a combination with the vaccine super spreader. So supposedly, right? Because we're never going to fucking know the truth. I don't really think we're going to know the truth. That's why that whole big thing was around people who were vaccinated were super spreaders. Do you remember that? That was what, a couple weeks ago, maybe it's 1 month ago. And now there's more and more things coming out about it. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, wait, like what? So again, for me, there were things about the PCR test. What is it? Is it PCR or PRC?
I think it's PCR.
PCR, right? I just had a backward moment, but so there were things about that saying that it couldn't detect between the flu and COVID. And again, what were our numbers for flu last year? What was 2020's numbers for flu? Exactly.
There was let's not say there were zero, but there was so little data on it that there was not enough for them to put anything out there. So in some counties, yes, or in some states, like you were getting zero or close to zero. Nationwide, it looked like it disappeared.
When every year there's, I believe, thousands upon thousands upon thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of flu cases and so many thousands of deaths from flu. So again, for me, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I believe, and I also believe in my body, my choice. And I believe in that in every shape of the word. Like, I believe that if a woman decides that she wants to have an abortion, that's her choice. I think there should be some limits to it. Chris and I don't agree on it. Look at his face. But this is one of the things that I love about this panel, right? We don't agree on everything. We don't. But guess what? We still laugh together. We still call each other friends. Like, we are friends, first and foremost.
First and foremost.
Period.
So I want to make her sound.
We don't agree on, sorry, Chris, I need to cut you off, but we don't agree on everything. But we can have these conversations and we can sit here and we can smile and laugh and respect one another's opinions. We don't have to like it, but we can respect it. And again, I'm not saying for me, myself, but I mean, your girl can't have no more babies anyway because she old as hell. But And so I do believe in my body, my choice. So I believe that if you want to get the vaccine, I don't shun you if you want to get the vaccine. Do what you feel is best for you and your family. That's a choice. I'm not going to hate on you for doing that. Like, that's your choice. I just want that same respect. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, I was because John Tish was talking. I was going to say she's running audio and research in the background today.
She's the bomb.
No, so you had brought up the how people that are getting the vaccine are, they're super spreader, right? Or they're aiding in that.
Supposedly, let's say
Supposedly, right?
for the video.
So for me, this is when we start talking COVID, and this is like so many other things, whether it's BLM or Antifa or whatever, the current hot topic is, and COVID has been the one that's been around and constantly in the news. The problem that we have in America, and I don't know if any of you guys seen my post where I put up, it's President Trump in a red rag, and then you got a bunch of Democrats in blue rags. To me, it's just political gang warfare. You're picking two sides, and it's like, and I know it's like saying, you're from Chicago, you know about gangs. I'm from California, we know about gangs. And if you're not paying attention and you don't open your eyes and see what's going on, you get wrapped up in that gang lifestyle, and you will believe some of the stupidest shit that's out there. Like, I'm telling you, like, some of the causes or the reason why you're a part of certain things, if you really think about it, like, street gangs, they don't really have, what are they benefiting? Money? Somebody else is benefiting. It's never the street soldier. And the reason why I'm using that comparison to what we're seeing with politics is because you've had to pick a side. You're red or blue. And if you're in the middle, you're kind of in a messed up situation. And the problem is that because you're so caught up in these ideologies and because you're wrapped up in that gang, Democrat or Republican, people don't want to come to the middle and have a conversation and listen. To where I listen to people that are pro-vaccine and I'm like, okay, they make valid points. I think when we stop listening to the other side and we can't find one thing that we could agree on in that conversation, we're never going to agree on anything. So we have to agree. She's looking at me. So real quick, because I'm getting the eyeballs of death over here.
Uh-oh. What'd you do?
Hey, every marriage you have disagreements, and we had
sometimes you gotta bite your tongue and just walk away.
We had a disagreement last night, but we're good because we talked about it. We did a couple circles a couple times, but it's proof though that even me and her, you do it as couples. At some point, you got to come back, and we had to find something to agree on, because if not, we'd have both went to sleep pissed off, going, they completely missed it, or he completely or she completely missed the whole point.
I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I go to sleep pissed off.
It happens. It happens.
We've done it before.
We've done it before. But hey, whether you're a couple, between friends or whatever, it happens there. It happens on the bid side. Like, if you can't come together and find something to agree on and start working on it, you're not going to get anywhere. And I say all that to say this with the vaccine. You brought up, because it's important, and I know it's a little one.
I'm looking at Autumn's.
But you were bringing up the super spreader.
So that's a comment. You know what, Autumn? Period.
So
tell Tisha Autumn got her back.
Oh, she's reading it. So when it comes to the super spreader stuff, right? If we can get people on the other side to come sit down with us and be like, hey, look, I understand you want us to take the vaccine, but the vaccine, now somebody put it up, J&J's the closest thing you're going to get to the real vaccine. That is, from what I read, that is the real vaccine. It's a one shot and you're done, because it's doing what vaccines are supposed to do. It's taking weakened or what is it? I can't remember the word. It's either weakened virus. Sometimes I think they do live viruses like with the flu. They're weakened live viruses. And then there's the, another chicken nugget brain.
Period.
Man, I'll have to come back to it. But either way, it's putting it in your body. Your body's fighting it, building antibodies to it. And then it's done. It's killing the virus inside your body. So, but with this mRNA, from the get-go, they said it's not stopping. It's not going to stop the virus. It's going to stop the symptoms. And I'm not no medical doctor, but here's what I can't stand. When people like myself, I read. I have a whole bunch of books downstairs. I'm constantly picking up new material to read, and I'm constantly researching. Like, it's the internet. We got Google. It's there. And so when I heard that, I'm like, hold on. So it's not stopping the virus. It's just stopping the symptoms. So you still have the virus in you. And so you're not vaccinating anybody. So that's why myself personally am against those vaccines, the mRNAs. Because again, somebody put this in, they're not vaccines. They're like treatments. Those are the things where if we could come to the table and get the other side to listen and say, hey, look, we have a valid point. Can you see it? They're even saying that it's not stopping it. I think when we can get both groups to see that, then we can start working on progress. Until then, we just continue to do circles.
I agree 100%. And I feel like these lockdowns and these mask mandates are absolutely ridiculous. One, we have known since the very maybe couple months into COVID that the mask, unless it's like a certified N95 mask that is fitted directly around your face, it does not fucking work. Okay, so if you want me to put a mask on to go into your damn store, and then whatever at this point, right? But the fear mongering for me is driving me absolutely nuts. So I have signs outside my door. It's called Unmask the Children, Follow the Science. It's by a certain campaign. They're big pink, bright ass pink signs. I have 2 of them in my yard. I live in the hood. I live in a Democrat city. I live around a lot of Democrats. Now, again, I'm not saying I'm a Democrat because I'm not a Democrat and I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent because I believe that God gave me a brain and I will put it to use by looking at someone based on their damn policy. I will not conform because someone tell me pick side. No, I dance to the beat of my own drum, period.
Hey, so you remember that message the other day? I think Tisha put in the group chat where somebody that me and Tisha know said, they started off a conversation, and what did she say? Just comply? Just comply. And at the end of that, I read it, and I was like, fuck no.
When I was like, fuck them.
Yeah. It's not saying that you're never going to, and I know you guys, I know you'll get this. It's not saying that I'm never going to comply, right? But there's a time and place to comply with certain things. Like, for example, if you, the police, pull me over and you ask me for my driver's license and registration and insurance or whatever, right? I'm going to comply. There's got to be a reason for it, okay? Then there's times where it's like, hey, take this vaccine. Why? Don't ask, just comply. Wait, hold on. Now, I know when I get pulled over, there was a possibility that either one, I did something wrong, and you usually know when you do something wrong, like you ran a red light or stop sign or something, or maybe something's wrong with the car and they're just trying to, inform me. There's different places where you want to comply, but when this person's like, stop fighting it, just comply. No, this is something that hasn't been tested. There's so many different sides to this story that I'm not just going to comply. I have questions. I didn't do nothing wrong. I mean, hell, I had it. I beat it. I'm okay. Why? What am I just complying for? And when you start asking questions, they get upset. Or in this case, we didn't get that. We kind of got to, what would say? She took a step back and said, "No, I was just saying, you guys should think about it." That's kind of how that story wrapped up. But no, I'm not complying. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Let's see. Question: I'm going to read it out real quick. I have a question. Do you feel a child in high school can make their own choice to wear a mask or not? Yes. I know, Charlie, your son just started college, and so you had some experience with that last year. My oldest is in high school. He's a sophomore. I think if he wants to wear a mask and he's educated enough to know what the benefits are, what he's going to get from it, which if you talk to my son about it, like I talk to him, I show him data. He's been in here while we've done the lives. He's listened to me talk about like our county numbers and how it's affected kids at his age. I think if he wanted to make a decision to wear the mask or not, that's on him. And if he chooses not to, I'm not going to say anything. And if he chooses to put it on, I might kind of shake my head a little bit, but
Because what do we look like telling them no?
Yeah.
When we're sitting here talking about everybody has a right to choose what they
Yeah.
want, and he's of age.
so the only time that I will say something to him about the mask, like if he comes out of school with the mask on and gets in the car with the mask on, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Take the mask off. And there's multiple different reasons. Like I like reading facial expressions, and I want to see if I'm talking to my kids. I want to see how they're reacting. My other kids, when they come out of school, sometimes my daughter will have the mask on, but they're also a little bit younger. And when they get in the car, it's like, hey, take the mask off. But to your question, I think that for my son, I think he's at an age where he can make from what he knows, and he can make a good decision for himself.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm gonna comment really quick. Angie I just saw her comment popped. I said, everyone, please talk to your doctor. So I don't know. I think everyone should advise their doctors about certain things, right? But I took my son to our doctor because I was like, my son is healthy. We've already had COVID. You tested his antibodies. He still has antibodies. Why would he get a vaccine when he has created natural immunity to COVID, right? So, but there are so many doctors who are just like, yes, get the vaccine, get the vaccine. It's kind of what we talked about earlier. And I'm like, where are all the doctors who say, no, don't get the vaccine? I want to talk to that doctor. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if like when thinking about getting the vaccine, I think the majority will probably say, get the vaccine. So I don't know. I mean, I think there are certain things you should consult with your doctor about. But I think that at the end of the day, like my rheumatologist has told me to get the vaccine, or like, hey, are you thinking about it? And I was like, hell to the no. She was like, why not? And I was like, one, I already had COVID. I'm like, I'm immune. I have immunity issues. And I'm just going to take my chances because at the end of the day, my faith tells me that God got me, period. And when it's my day, it's my day. And I know people hate to hear that shit. And I'm not trying to make this religious. But I'm going to say hands down that I believe that my day will come when God says so. Again, I'm not trying to rush it, but I'm just saying so I don't know, Angie. And it's not to come at your comment. I just think, like you mentioned earlier, that your dad just got the vaccine and now he's really sick. So I think that it's not a one size fit all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think I got something for this because I agree with Angie, and I also agree with what you just said, right? And then yes, people do not realize that by now that a lot of doctors are about the money. And then there's also that. So put COVID aside for a minute, right? Let's say you're going in and let's say you have cancer, right? They just diagnosed you with cancer. and you go in, and this is any year before 2020 and 2021, and you go in, and they're like, hey, we'll just say Mr. Smith, right? Because I don't want to use anybody. Just say Mr. Smith. Hey, Mr. Smith, you got cancer. Here's the treatments that are, out there. There's A, B, and C, and we think A would be your best choice. But you can take one of the other options. Here's the prices for it. Here's what it might run your insurance. They give you the information, and then they go, and by the way, there's also option D. What's the best way to put this? Option D is that one where it's like, hey, you have that freedom, or you could just not do nothing. And there's times like people have done that, like, hey, you have this, you could just let it ride its way out. Like, and people might not want to hear that. And let's say they don't even give you option D, but option D is always on the table. You don't have to do any of it. And they're not going to force you to go in and to do any treatments or anything. You can have other illnesses or diseases, and how many times be like, hey, look, we have this, or that, or you could take this medication, and this should clear it up. And they give you that option, and then you can always say no to it. But this is one of those ones where you're like, hey, you have to do this. There is no option. So when you go talk to your doctor, I think if your doctor's going, hey, look, you have option A, take the vaccine. I think it'll be good. I don't think you'll be at any risk, but here's information on the vaccines. You have 3 or 4 of them, make your choice, or you cannot take it. And you can catch it, and if you catch it, here's what we could do. The problem that I'm seeing is like you said, Chad, like if you go talk to I think, Andrew, you're right. You talk to your doctor, you should. If you don't like what they're saying, go get a second opinion. And that's where I'm with you, Charlie. Like, I think then you also can make your own decision. Like, if they're not giving you anything, do some research. But at the end of the day, we should still have the option to choose whether we want to take one of the vaccines, we want to catch it and fight it off, or we just want to pretend like it's not here and maybe we'll never catch it. Like, we shouldn't be forced to do any of that. Which, real quick side note, has also changed my mind on school vaccines. Like, now that I'm looking at a lot of these vaccines, I'm like, man, what are we getting all these for? Like, even for the work and for the military, I'm like, man, I got a lot of stuff. And to be honest with you, I've never questioned it until recently. And that kind of bothers me because I feel like, hey, I kind of got sucked up into the government system. I didn't know any better. And I stood in the lines, or as a kid, my parents gave us shots. I mean, I couldn't say nothing, but now it's just making me think in the future, when new stuff comes out, I think I'm going to be a little bit more cautious of what I'm giving my kids or what I'm taking.
You know what? I was just talking about this today, and I said that I believe, honestly, like now after sitting back and just kind of reflecting on things, I'm thinking there are some vaccines like the polio vaccine that it actually prevents people from catching polio. It does what a vaccine is supposed to do. Okay? Because that's the definition of vaccine. It prevents something from happening. Okay? So I was thinking about that, and I was talking to my aunt today, and I said, you know what? I think that if I went down the rabbit's hole and I looked at all the shit that they pumped into me from childhood, I think some of that shit probably gave me lupus. And that's kind of what I'm feeling right now, to be honest. And that's just what I'm feeling. I don't trust shit at this point. And I think the less transparent they are, the more I distrust.
And that's, I don't want to say sad. I think it's a good thing. I really do. And I say that because of this. If you look at what's going on in Australia, from some of the reports that I've been reading and the news outlets, and then, like the podcast that I'm listening to, if you were to get an average person to tell you about Australia, like there seems to be this common consensus that majority of the people actually think that that type of government intervention is good. Like the government being involved, taking, helping them out in certain areas, making sure that there's things in place, which is why they were so easily duped into giving up all their guns, or why they're having this issue with the coronavirus and being locked down. Do y'all remember having a chicken pox party? I don't remember getting I have to ask my mom, but I could have swore I got chicken pox. I think she took me to my cousin's house when he had it. So when I say to his house, it was literally like we lived in like behind this church. There was an alleyway, and there were some houses surrounded by like other houses, right? So it was 1, 2, and 3. So we all lived right there. And I remember her taking me over to my cousin's house. I think it was my brother too, and he had chicken pox. And I guess I've never thought about a chicken pox party. But you're right. We had chicken pox party because my other cousins went too. That's
because if you remember, it was easier if you caught chicken pox as a child. You were most likely going to get through it with limited issues, as opposed to as you catching it much older as an adult, it was going to be a lot worse.
What do they call it? You get shingles, I think is what it was, or something like that.
So you can catch shingles, herpes, chicken pox, they're all in the same family. So shingles, you can catch if you've had chicken pox, you can get shingles. It lives in your nerves. It's only I actually suffer from it, and it's fucking awful. It's awful. And I had chicken pox when I was 5.
Hey, how funny, real quick, I gotta put this up. Cece, I know you used to be my neighbor. I seen you back on here the other day. I hope everybody's doing good. Cece used to live like across the street, like 2 houses down. I grew up with her brothers. No, I hope everybody's doing good, your mom and your dad. And I was waiting, but since you brought it up, I'm going to find this one. I seen this one, and I was actually going to take this and give you some credit for it later. But long story short, in order for the government to leave our asses alone, is to be left in Afghanistan. Ooh. But you might be right. Hey, so since we're on COVID and we're talking about Afghanistan, so Charlie, as we're watching all this stuff go on over the last 2 weeks, outside of the women, what do they call putting on hijabs or covering their face? Did you see anybody wearing masks out there?
Nope.
It was almost like it didn't exist in Afghanistan.
Correct. And I wish, you know what I wish they would do? So I like follow the VAR system every now and then because I like to go on there and see what's on there. And I wish that they would just put shit on a chart. Like, can we go back to like old school charts, like January, February, March, April, May, June, July, like COVID, hospitalized, because they're doing it by they do it by like cities and shit, but I still think it's off as fuck. But I really wish they would just start let's just be transparent about it. Let's put the information out there. Maybe if people have all the information, people wouldn't be so hesitant if the vaccine is such a great thing, you know what I mean? And again, I just can't get over the fact that they're claiming, oh, we're saving people's lives by forcing them to do something. We're saving lives. We're saving lives. Well, then why the hell you ain't passing out chemotherapy? How come you ain't passing out damn insulin? Those are the number 2 killers of Americans. You know what I'm saying? Like, make it make sense.
Hey, and I think you bring up a good point. Hold on just a second. I have to bring
Autumn said, I didn't see anybody wearing one at Obama's birthday either. Facts. I am watching the US Open and everyone in the stands are shoulder to shoulder and no mask. Correct. I will speak on that in a second too. So, the other night I went to a concert. We are mask mandated. Any inside anything is masked. I went to a Aventura concert on Sunday night with my daughter and my cousin. It was in Wrigley Field, happens to be one of the best stadiums in the entire world, period. And so there's when I tell you that the stadium was packed, it was packed. No mask inside. We're shoulder to shoulder. Guess what? I'm still alive. I'm still alive. So I'm like, it just doesn't make sense. Half of the shit they do don't make sense to me, to be honest. I think I've you know what I have noticed in the last couple of days, because I've been driving my son to school back and forth. I've been noticing people in their cars with their families and they all have masks on. And I've only noticed that in the last few days, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Hey, so
Like,
I
when
had
you guys home, you go home, you're just wearing your mask around each other and shit.
I think it was on, it might have been Twitter the other day. I don't remember, actually, to be honest with you, but so I go on Twitter to follow Gavin Newsom and some other political people or other politicians, just because I seem to get those notifications of what they're saying or what they're doing faster than anywhere else. But somebody was talking about wearing a mask at home, and my comment to them was, I don't doubt that there's some couples out there like that sleep in the same bed and wear a mask at night. I 100% believe that that is possible. There's at least one couple out there that is so in love but so afraid of COVID that when they go to sleep at night, they either have a mask on or they put up a glass shield in the middle of their bed. Like, just because people are crazy.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Hey, so you brought up the charts and statistics, right? I've been saying this for a while. I think they have dumbed us down. And by us, I mean our kids. Well, some of us, our kids, they're doing it through our education. They have the focus in the wrong place. I got to read this one quick. At least 5% of the U.S. population is extraordinarily hypnotizable, so easily hypnotizable that they are in a constant state of, say that word.
Exaggerated suggestibility.
Exaggerated suggestibility, even when awake. Yes.
I agree 100%.
Hey, I feel like Joe Biden. If you didn't know I had a stutter, if you didn't know I had a speech impediment, so there are some words I say. What word do I stay away from?
6.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Because there's that one word that just gets me.
I remember a teacher making you say it one time.
So, no, when it comes to data and statistics, I think a lot of the reason why they don't want to be transparent, or they don't want to put out a calendar showing events, or they don't want to put out data in a way that the normal person can understand it, is because if you start looking at it, and like I've said before, like if you look at the state of California, like the age range is crazy: 0 to 17, 18 to 48, 49 to 65, 65 and up. Like there's not any consistency with the age gaps. So it can look a lot worse than it is. So if you have a 17-year age gap versus, I think it was 18 to 48, a 30-year age gap, of course it's going to look like, if you're 18 to 48, like it's so much worse, because there's a 30-year gap in there. Like that's a lot of people. And then versus 0 to 17. And then you have 49 to, I think it's 65, which is what, maybe 65, 15, 16 years? A 16-year gap close to the first one. And then 65 and up. Or I think it's 49 to 64 and then 65 and up. Like, if it's laid out in a way to make it seem like this is so much worse than what it is, because if you were to break them down in increments and say 0 to 5, 0 to 5, 6 to 10, and so forth, I think that people will be like, yo, this ain't that bad. Really, the people that are dying from it are 80s and 90s. Like, those are the highest people. And guess what? That's also the same group of people that if they catch the common cold or they catch a flu or they just get a snivel, that could just be the end of them, because they're in that age bracket to where their immune system isn't the best. They don't want you to know that. And it's not to say don't take it serious, but if we're trying to recover as a nation and to come back and to open back up, if we can't come to the table and talk about how their data's been jacked up, we're never going to get there. They'll just keep manipulating you with numbers. And that's one of the best things about numbers. If you know what you're doing, you can make numbers say whatever you want them to say when it comes to data and statistics.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's it. Oh, wait. I'm over here messing around my computer. Oh, there's the one I want. Sorry. I was back and forth. Statistical manipulation. Yes. I agree with that 100%, which I think is what's been happening since day one, to be honest. And one more thing I just kind of wanted to add with this whole COVID thing. When I was talking about us being like, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, blah, 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 but I will be a little more, not a little more, a lot more. Let me be honest. I will be a lot more skeptical of what I'm putting in my body. I will want to look into it. I want to know what it is. I'm not just going to take it because the doctor says it's good for me. That's not happening anymore. But I also want to say, people think like, oh, well, if Trump had won, you'd get the vaccine. Fuck no. Trump don't pay my bills. You got me messed up. I don't care if Trump said, get the vaccine. I'm going to be like, no. Period. I don't care. It makes me no difference who's in office. I'm not getting it. Period. I just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, those are basically our thoughts on COVID and all that's going on. There's those new variants. There's the Lambda variant now. And then there's another variant that they haven't named yet. So,
did you see the video with the helicopter today?
The one with the guy hanging, so that they could show him all around.
Crazy.
Oh, you know what? Now that I mention that, I will say this. That's another thing that pisses me off. You don't leave that much damn equipment behind without disabling it, without blowing the shit up. And not only that, but there was money left behind too. Like money. I'm like, wait, hold up. What? To me, honestly, it doesn't make sense. I agree that the troops should have been out of Afghanistan. I just don't like the way that it was done. And to leave all that shit, and then now they're using our shit to hang people by their damn necks.
So I will start off with this. This is probably the worst that we've done as far as leaving stuff behind. Yes, we left behind a lot of equipment, a lot of vehicles, helicopters, whatever, right? Some of it may have been destroyed. There was some pictures where some of it was destroyed. You can still grab some of that stuff. If you didn't destroy the whole thing, I'm pretty sure they could, grab parts and put stuff back together. But we trained some of them. Don't think that all of these people that we train just they're all going to die. I mean, I doubt that. There's a picture going around and it says, oh man, what was it? Tell me you had military training without telling me you had military training. And it's Taliban holding I think they're M4s or M6. Yeah, they're M4s, and they're finger is off the trigger, and they're holding it like we would be taught in the military to hold it. And you're kind of, I mean, my point is you can tell that there's training. Don't think that every single person that we trained is going to be killed. And and that this is planned, right? Because that was another thing I heard, like, oh man, this is planned. And then you got some people going, it was incompetence. Look, it's got to be one of, I was saying that too, like maybe it's a 50-50. But now I'm thinking like, yo, it's got to be one or the other. It's either got to be incompetence or it's got to be planned. Or it could be negligent. I mean, it doesn't have to be planned. It could have been a spur of the moment thing, and it's flat out negligence. I don't think that you can say, oh, and I said this the other day, and I'm going to take back what I said. I said I think it was a little bit of both. I think it was, incompetence, but then I feel like it was planned. No, I think this was just negligence. It may have been planned, it's piss poor plan, but it was negligence. And also something, yes, and also something to think about is like I said, this isn't the worst we've ever done. Just go back and do some research about the Middle East. We have, for let's say maybe 50, 60 years now, and next time we speak about this, if it comes up, I'll make sure I have my exact numbers. This is not the first time we've been in the Middle East to help out, okay, to provide support or some type of assistance. We have taken people out of the Middle East, brought them back to America, educated them, and then put them back in power or put them back over there. We have been there before, and we have trained, you could say, police or other national armies in that area. We have trained their people to help their areas or their country or their nation. Military training. We have provided people assistance before, weapons, vehicles. This is not the first time where we've backed out of somewhere and left our equipment. If you go back to when this war first started, and you talk to some vets that were there. Now I wasn't there. I was still in high school when it happened, but I know that there was, like, my cousin was in, and he'd be like, dude, sometimes we just leave stuff because we have the money to ship it there, but maybe it's down or you can't bring it all back. And then if they have to, they destroy it. Or sometimes, you try not to walk away from it. But my point to this is that that's what I was saying earlier. Like, there's always so much more to the story, but this is not the first time we've done something like this. This is just by far the worst. And if I can wrap up this whole thing on Afghanistan, what blows my mind is that we're taught to secure our weapons, we secure our gear, we secure our food, our trash, everything else, and you make sure you bring it all back. And how we didn't secure any of this and just left it, it's crazy. It just blows my mind. And for the people that were thinking that, hey, these guys aren't going to be able to fly a helicopter, look, if you really believe what happened on 9/11, like, these guys flew a plane into 2 buildings. If you didn't think they could fly a helicopter, you need to rethink what, maybe the news that you're reading or what you're being told, because it was only a matter of time before they got that helicopter in the sky.
I mean, let's be honest. That's only liberals saying that.
Yeah, but it's just, and that's what I'm saying, like, but it's just the honest truth. Like, they're not, some of them, yes, they're caveman. They you could say that they don't know nothing. Some of them play dumb. Some of them are on drugs, but don't be fooled and think that they're all stupid. I mean, they're not. So
they're not at all. They're not stupid at all. I agree. And the only thing I want to say is the other day we did a video, and I'm going to take back something I said. And some people are not going to like it. But at this point, I just really, if you're in your feelings about it, those are your feelings. You're entitled to them. That's what I'm going to say about that. But what I said was that I was not going to call out people that supported this administration, that we wanted to have a conversation, and I still want to have those conversations, but I have to be honest, because if I thought it's there, right? And that's how I feel. It's what I feel. So you're just as bad. I'm going to say it. those faces, these faces right here, I'm going to show you one more time. These faces right here. Let me take that comment off really quick. You're just as bad. I said I wasn't going to blame Biden supporters, but this is what happens when you have somebody who is incompetent or negligent in office making decisions. And these heroes, because that's what they are nothing less than heroes, paid the price for it. So I'm going to take back what I said. If you're in your feelings about it, it's fine. We can come back and have a talk another day, but that's just how I feel. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I said it. I thought it. It is what it is. So I think you're blamed too, to be honest.
And I think that at the moment that is a normal feeling, because I'm not gonna lie. At first, I was like, man. Now I've changed my mind a little bit because I'm not so upset about it anymore. Not saying that I'm not bothered by it, but I'm not in my feelings. Remember, that's that being irrational. Like I was really in my feelings, and I was like, no, to the point where I'm like, man, if you voted for him, this blood's on your hands too. Now that I've kind of had some time to think about it, my thing with that is like, if you voted for Joe Biden, or if you know somebody, like I wouldn't personally go bash them. You could be upset. That's fine. At the end of the day, if you're going to say anything to anybody, we really got to start having that conversation. Like, hey, in the future, we can't just get in our feelings because the media says one president's bad, and then the whole campaign be about voting that president out, not caring who we bring in. Because that's what this was about. And hopefully this will wake people up to say, hey, look, we either need to start looking for better politicians. And I think honestly, I think Tulsi Gabbard, I think she would have probably been a better shot than anybody else they put up there, just because she seems more centered.
I would have had her over Camel Toe.
Yeah. And the way she called out some of them. But I really do think like, hey, hopefully this is an eye opener. And the people that did vote are like, man, maybe I should have paid attention. Because if you really watch Joe Biden and you go back and you do your history on the guy, he really is as bad as they say he is. As far as like policies, I'm not going to say as a person because I don't know him as a person. He could be a horrible person. I mean, his policies are kind of a reflection of who he is. But hopefully people will wake up and see that things have changed, or that they should have. In the future, we need to change how we're going about voting.
Yeah, no, I agree, and we should vote based on. But I had to say it because I thought it, and I thought I got to be true to myself.
I'm with you on it because I felt the same thing, and then I'm not gonna lie, like I honestly thought about my dad. I was like, as I started thinking about, it, I was like, well, that's kind of messed up because I'm pretty sure my dad voted for Joe Biden. He'd probably get upset if he ever watched this. I don't think he watches any of them, and it's not to say a bad thing, but it's. I thought about that. I was like, look, if somebody attacked my dad and was like, hey, this blood's on your hands, I would probably be a little upset and defend and be like, hey, he didn't vote for this. Like he didn't know that this was going to happen. He voted because he got one side of the story, and what he got, he honestly thought he was doing the right thing. And
I'm going to agree with that too. I'm going to agree with certain people because I left her comment up there.
Yeah.
This is not just about your dad, but I just want to. It says, yeah, but we know that those votes did not vote him in, Shelly. So how can they be blamed? Now, do I believe that some cheating took place? Yes, hands down, 100%. But do I know for a fact that there are tons of diehard Democrats, people in my family who are like, I was born a Democrat, I'm going to die a Democrat, and they voted based on their damn feelings. And they didn't vote so much for Biden. They voted because they're born Democrat, raised Democrat. That's one. Another group was, well, I just don't like the way Trump talks, so I'm going to vote for a guy who can't talk because this guy is too aggressive when he talks. So some of those people, the people that were wholeheartedly who've known about his policies, who've known what he's brought to the table for 47 years. Yeah, they knew. See, I'm at the point in life where I'm not giving people a pass anymore. I could still have a conversation with you and I'll respect you, but I'm gonna call you out on your bullshit. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of at that point in my life.
No,
with
and that's fine, because there are those people too. There are those people too.
And
that
those are the people.
Yeah,
Those are the people that I'm talking about.
Yeah, and that's why I want to make it clear. Like, there are some people that they don't follow politics, or they just started following it, or they watch the news because they want, it's just something that, people do. I guess at night, they just, when they run out of stuff to do, they watch the news. I don't know. But I feel like there are some people out there that truly got duped, and it's not their fault. Then yes, you have people that are like hardcore Democrats. They follow politics, or they don't care, but they're going to keep voting for it anyways. Like, yes, I agree with you on that. There are some people that, hey, if you knew who Joe Biden was and you were following along and you still voted for him, yes, you do bear some responsibility.
Autumn, you know what? Her comments today, she is on point. On point today. She's the one that made the comment about shut your mouth and I'm pretty, call me pretty, give me tacos. Autumn, thank you, girl. But yeah, no, I do agree with you, but I'm like, I don't know. I just had to say it, because if it's in my head already, I just got to say it. Then I'll be like, okay, now we could talk.
After it runs through your system.
Yeah, I had to get it out there. I got to stay true to me.
Hey, real quick, if we could finish with this last one, man, where was it at? You put it up, and I wanted to talk about it real quick because I believe this has this one right here. So, it more so had to do with the southern border. Which is why I kind of wanted to come back to it. Because this all has to do with, to me, it all has to do with the same thing. So when we're talking Afghanistan, we're talking terrorists, people running, they're over there with no mask. When you look at the southern border, there's terrorists in Mexico. There's terrorists in South America, Central America, the cartel. There's a lot of bad stuff that happens, and we're not worried about COVID. At least it doesn't seem like that. Like, I know we had to hurry up and evacuate these people out of Afghanistan, but are we, they haven't told us what their process was going to be bringing them into the country. Are they going to put them in quarantine right away and start testing them? Are you going to do what you did to the people at the southern border and put them in these little camps and hold on to them for a while? I mean, what are we doing with them? I mean, because we need to look for terrorists or people that want to do harm to America or to citizens and COVID. And when it comes to the southern border, the reality is if we don't get some security there and people want to hit us, your average civilian knows, especially the ones that live on the border, we are weak at our southern border. I mean, I think other nations would have a very hard time coming across the seas, because I do think we have the best Navy, hands down. We're weak at our southern border, and I'm afraid of, hey, now that we got China, Russia, Afghanistan's arming up, we got a lot of threats going on. They could just come join the party, and caravan up here with everybody else. And so now we got to worry about terrorists at our southern border and, whatever drug cartels that are, or gang members that are trying to come over or come back over on top of COVID. I'd really like them to see them start taking our southern border, honestly. And I'd like the people of Mexican descent to start being more, open your eyes and be a little bit more understanding, because Mexican's not a race, it's a nationality. And if you were born here, you're not Mexican, you're American. And if your family came from there, like mine, John Tisha's, Charlie, I mean, you're half Mexican. Your family came from there. They came here to be American. They didn't come here to be Mexican. And there's nothing wrong with being Mexican. Be proud in it. It's a great culture. There's a lot of stuff that comes with it. As far as the culture, the music, the food, there is pride in it. But at the end of the day, our families came here to be American, and we need to protect that southern border. And I was about to say, and that goes for Canada too. We got to stop pretending that we're not going to that our open borders are not a threat, or our unsecure borders. I'd like to start seeing not just administrative politicians, but just people in general start taking it serious. And I think we lost that sense of nationality. And because we've lost it because we don't pledge allegiance to the flag, you got people burning the flag. You got multiple, national anthems. You got all these other flags that represent all this other stuff. It's really divided us. And I wish we could I'd like to just see all that stuff, just get rid of it all. And let's all go back to trying to be one people and building this American culture in our nation and start protecting us and not be involved in any more wars, no more Afghanistans. And for anybody that's out there that may watch this thinking that, conservatives just want to be in war, Republicans just want to be in war. No, I don't. I don't want to be in war. I don't mind going. I joined, and I've tried to get deployed several times because I wanted to go serve my country. I wanted to do the right thing, to help people out, to save people, whatever capacity that may be. But I don't want war. So I just want people to really start looking at that and having that real conversation about our southern border and Canada.
I agree 100%, and I couldn't have said it better. On that, I thought we are going to end this with a little funny, okay? Because that's just what I do. Oh, wait, I got to take off the comment. God dang it. Can you see the full thing or no? Is it cut off?
No, you can see it.
Oh, okay. So on that note, we're going to end on this. My final thoughts: have an open mind, invite everyone to the table, because we cannot make change without doing that. Okay? Let's pray for our men and women in the military. Let's pray for our police officers. Again, happy heavenly birthday, Ella French. I hope you are dancing with the angels. On that note, Chris, last words.
I think you said just be open-minded. I think people really just need to start loving each other more. And stop being so aggressive and fighting and being in your little echo chamber.
Yes.
The best thing from the day was we may get caught in our emotions, like in our feelings, and there's nothing wrong with that momentarily. Like, yes, we all do it. And to say that I haven't done it, nobody's, we shouldn't do it, is to say that, we're either perfect or we're not human. Like, we're human. So if I could leave with that, like, if you're going to get caught in your feelings, that's fine. But you really got to work through it. And then if you know that you're starting to become irrational or illogical, or you're just not being receptive, then maybe, and people start attacking you or saying, hey, like, not wanting to talk, maybe you're the problem. Maybe you're just doing a little too much. And you got to reevaluate yourself sometimes. We can't always beat people up. So that's really it.
So on that note, we're going to say goodnight to you guys. We hope you have an amazing night, and we will see you guys in a few days. Have a good night.